My daughter-in-law booked a family trip, then canceled my ticket at the airport. I cannot believe I am sitting here telling you this right now. My hands are still shaking a little when I think about what happened. But I need to tell someone, and you all have always been here for me, so here we go. My name is Florinda. I am 84 years old and I live in San Antonio, Texas. I have lived in this same city for almost 60 years now. I raised my children here, I buried my husband here, and I plan to grow old and die in this city that I love with all my heart. I worked for 31 years as a school librarian. I loved every single day of that job. I loved the smell of the books. I loved the children coming in and asking me for stories. I loved helping young minds find something they were passionate about. I retired 11 years ago and I still miss it sometimes. But I keep myself busy. I have my garden, I have my church group, I have my little book club that meets every second Thursday of the month, and I have my family. Or at least I thought I had my family. Now let me tell you a little bit about my life before I get into what happened, because you need to understand who I am and where I come from to fully understand how deeply this situation cut me. I was born in a small town, the youngest of 5 children. My mother worked 2 jobs and my father worked in construction. We did not have much, but we had each other, and we had dignity. My mother always told me, Florinda, no matter what happens to you in this life, hold your head high and never let anyone make you feel like you are less than what you are. I carried those words with me my whole life. I carried them when I got married, when I had my babies, when I lost my husband 12 years ago, and I am carrying them right now as I tell you all of this. I have 2 children. My son Raphael is 56 years old. He is a good man, a hard-working man, and I love him more than words can say. He works in real estate, and he has done very well for himself. He has a big house, nice cars, and he has a wife. Her name is Adriana. Adriana came into our lives about 14 years ago when she and Raphael started dating. At first I thought she was a lovely woman. She was polished, she was smart, she was always perfectly dressed and always had something clever to say. Raphael was crazy about her and I was happy for him. I wanted my son to be happy. That is all any mother wants. But over the years, little things started to bother me. Little things that I kept pushing down because I did not want to cause problems. The way she would sometimes make comments about my house when she visited. The way she would quietly change the subject when I started talking about the old days. The way she would organize family events and somehow my input was never really needed or wanted. I told myself I was being too sensitive. I told myself this is just her personality. She is a strong woman. She likes to be in charge of things. I gave her the benefit of the doubt over and over again for many years. I also have a daughter, Silnia. She is 52 years old, and she lives about 40 minutes away from me. Silnia is the one who calls me every single day. She is the one who shows up when I am sick, who remembers my favorite things, who sits with me and talks for hours. Silnia never had children of her own, and I think she has poured all of that love into being the most devoted daughter a mother could ask for. She works as a nurse, and she has the biggest heart of anyone I have ever known in my entire life. Now let me tell you about this trip. About 8 months ago, Raphael and Adriana announced that they were planning a big family vacation. They wanted to take the whole family to a beautiful beach resort. They said it was to celebrate several things at once. Raphael had just had a big professional success. Their son, my grandson Marco, who is 28, had just gotten engaged to a wonderful young woman named Priya. And I was about to turn 84. They said they wanted to make it a celebration of all of these things together. A real family vacation. I was so happy when I heard this. You have to understand, since my husband passed, I do not travel much anymore. The last big trip I took was almost 7 years ago. And the idea of going somewhere beautiful with my whole family, to celebrate, to be together, it meant everything to me. I started thinking about what I would pack. I started thinking about sitting on the beach with my grandchildren, watching the sunset, having dinners together, making memories. I cried a little when Raphael told me. Happy tears. The kind of tears you cry when you feel truly loved and included. Adriana was organizing everything. She said she would handle all the bookings, all the arrangements, everything. All we had to do was show up. She sent a big group message to the family with all the details. Dates, times, the name of the resort, the itinerary. It was a 10-day trip. 10 whole days together as a family. I marked the dates on my calendar in red ink. I counted down the days like a child counts down to Christmas. For months leading up to the trip, Adriana would give little updates in the group chat. She booked the flights. She booked the rooms. She planned some group excursions. Everyone was excited. Even Celia, who I know has complicated feelings about Adriana, was excited because she knew how much this trip meant to me. She told me, "Mama, you deserve this. You deserve to have your whole family together and to celebrate you." And I believed her. Now I have to tell you what happened about 3 weeks before the trip, because this is where things started to feel a little off. I noticed that Adriana had gotten quieter in the group chat. When someone would post something excited about the trip, she would not respond the way she usually did. I asked Raphael on the phone if everything was okay with the planning, and he said, "Yes, Mama, everything is fine, do not worry." So I did not worry. Then 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave, Adriana sent a message to the family group chat saying that she needed everyone to double-check their travel documents and make sure everything was in order. I sent her a private message asking if my ticket information was somewhere I could access it, because I had never actually received any booking confirmation. She wrote back and said she would send everything over soon, not to worry. I trusted her. I did not push further. That was probably my mistake. The week before the trip, I still had not received any ticket information. I called Raphael and told him I was a little concerned because I had not gotten any confirmation of my flight details. He said Adriana handles all of that, Mama, and if she says it is taken care of, then it is taken care of. He said it in a tone that told me not to ask again. So I let it go. I packed my suitcase. I laid out my travel outfit. I went to the pharmacy and made sure I had enough of all my medications for the whole trip plus a few extra days, just in case. The morning of the trip, Celia came to pick me up so we could all meet at the airport together. We were all supposed to meet at the departure terminal at 6 in the morning because our flight was at 8:30. Celia and I got there early because I am always early to everything. That is just how I was raised. I got there and I saw Raphael and Adriana and Marco and his fiancée Priya all gathered together near the check-in counters. Everyone had their luggage. Everyone was ready. And I felt so happy standing there looking at my family, thinking about the 10 days we were about to spend together. We got in line to check in. Adriana was handling everything because she had all the booking information on her phone. She was checking everyone in one by one. I watched my son get checked in. I watched my grandson get checked in. I watched Priya get checked in. I watched Celia get checked in. And then Adriana looked up from her phone and said to me, with the most unreadable expression on her face, "Florinda, there seems to be a problem with your ticket." I said, "What kind of problem?" She said, "It looks like your booking was canceled." I said, "What do you mean canceled? Who canceled it?" And she said, "There must have been an error in the system." And then she said, "The flight is full, so there is no way to get you on this one." I just stood there. I could not speak for a moment. I looked at Raphael. He was looking at his phone. He would not make eye contact with me. I looked at Celia and I could see her face going through about 15 different emotions in 5 seconds. I asked Adriana when she found out about this problem. She said, very calmly, that she had noticed it a few days ago but was trying to sort it out. A few days ago. She had known for a few days that I did not have a ticket, and she said nothing. She let me pack my bag. She let me come to the airport at 5:30 in the morning. She let me stand in that line thinking I was about to go on this beautiful trip, and she said nothing. I asked her what I was supposed to do. She said, very casually, that maybe I could fly out the next day if a seat opened up, or maybe Celia could stay back with me to keep me company. And there it was. The real plan. Because if Celia stayed back, then the one person at that airport who was about to make things very uncomfortable would be busy taking care of me instead. Celia heard that suggestion, and she looked at Adriana with a calmness that was more frightening than any anger I have ever seen. She said, "Actually, Adriana, no." And then she turned to me and said, "Mama, we are going to figure this out right now." She walked over to the airline counter and started speaking with the agent. Meanwhile, I am standing there holding my carry-on bag, trying not to cry in the middle of this airport because I am 84 years old and I refuse to cry in public over something like this. The airline agent confirmed what Adriana had said. My ticket had been canceled. But here is what the agent also told Silnia, and this is where everything changed. The cancellation had not been some system error. The ticket had been manually canceled. Someone had gone in and canceled it deliberately. When Silnia turned around and shared this information loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, I watched Adriana's face. And her face told me everything I needed to know. Raphael finally looked up from his phone. I could see that he did not know. I truly believe my son did not know what his wife had done. He looked at Adriana and said, "Adriana, what is this?" And she started talking about how things had gotten complicated and how she thought it would actually be better for me not to have to travel so far at my age. At my age. As if I am some fragile little thing that needs to be managed while the rest of the family goes on vacation without me. I have never in my life felt so small and so furious at the exact same time. Raphael said they needed to talk and walked Adriana away from the group. I could see them arguing quietly a few feet away. Marco and Priya looked horrified and kept apologizing to me even though none of it was their fault. Silnia came and stood right next to me and held my hand and said quietly, "Mama, whatever happens right now, you are not alone." Now here is what happened next, and this is the part that surprised everyone, including Adriana. While Raphael and Adriana were having their quiet argument, Silnia went back to the airline counter and booked 2 tickets. One for me and one for her. On a different airline. A flight leaving 90 minutes after the original one, going to the same destination. She put it on her own card. She did not ask anyone's permission. She did not wait to see how the argument was going to end. She just did it. When she came back, she handed me a printed boarding pass and said, "Mama, we have a flight." I looked at that piece of paper and I cannot describe to you what I felt. Relief. Gratitude. Love so big it could fill that entire airport. Raphael came back and told Adriana he could not believe she had done something like this. Adriana looked at me and said something that was meant to sound like an apology, but came out more like an explanation of why her behavior was actually reasonable. I did not respond. I looked at her for a long moment, and then I turned away. We got to the resort a couple of hours after everyone else. But we got there. Silnia and I sat together on that plane, and she ordered us both ginger ale and little packets of pretzels, and we talked the whole flight. When we landed and walked out into that warm, bright air and felt the sun on our faces, I felt something release inside me that I had been holding for a very long time. The vacation itself was something. Raphael barely let Adriana out of his sight, and there was clearly a lot of tension between them. She tried to be pleasant with me, and I was polite, but I kept my distance. I spent beautiful days with Silnia and with Marco and Priya, who were so genuinely sweet to me all week. We took long walks on the beach. We ate wonderful food. We watched sunsets I will never forget. On the evening of my actual birthday, Marco and Priya surprised me with a little cake they had arranged with the resort, and we sat together in the warm evening air and they sang to me. Silnia held my hand the whole time. Adriana was there, but she was quiet the whole time. Adriana was there, but she was quiet the whole time. And I think that quiet was its own kind of answer, its own kind of acknowledgement of what she had done and what it had cost her. When we came home, Raphael called me and said he and Adriana were going to do some serious work on their relationship and that he was deeply sorry for not listening when I told him I had not received my ticket details. He said he should have listened. I told him I love him and that we will get through this as a family, because that is what families do. We simply do not walk away from each other, not ever. We work through the hard things and we keep going. What I want to say to Adriana is this. You tried to make me disappear. You tried to quietly erase me from a celebration that was partly meant to honor me. You thought you could do it smoothly with a story about a system error and that everyone would just accept it and move on. But 84 years of living teaches you things. It teaches you how to read people. It teaches you how to survive things that were meant to break you. It teaches you that love is not canceled as easily as a plane ticket. And it teaches you that when someone tries to leave you behind, sometimes the best thing that can happen is that someone who truly loves you books you both a new flight and sits right beside you all the way there. I am Florinda. I am 84 years old. I showed up for that trip and I had the most meaningful birthday I have had in years. Not because of a resort or beach. Because I got on that plane with my daughter and I was reminded of what truly matters most. Now I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. If you love your grandma, please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends because you never know who needs to hear it. I will see you all very soon. God bless every one of you truly.